Imagine this for a second. It's a few days before a major holiday. Your phone is buzzing nonstop. Group chats are exploding with plans, countdowns, emojis, excitement. Stores are louder than usual. Ads are screaming about joy, togetherness, celebration, and everywhere you look, people seem to be glowing with anticipation. But you're just not feeling it. You're not sad exactly. You're not angry. You're not broken. You just feel oddly neutral, maybe even a little tired. And at some point, a quiet thought creeps in. Is something wrong with me? Because we're told, directly and indirectly, that holidays are supposed to feel a certain way. You're supposed to be excited, grateful, emotional, nostalgic. You're supposed to feel something big. And when you don't, it can feel like you missed an important human memo. But here's the truth most people never talk about. Not getting excited by major holidays isn't a flaw in your personality. It's a psychological pattern. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your brain, the experience starts to make a lot more sense. Let me show you why. From the time we're kids, holidays are treated like emotional landmarks. They're not just dates on a calendar. They're rituals, stories, expectations layered on top of expectations. You're taught that this day matters more than most days, that it's supposed to feel special, and your brain takes that instruction very seriously. The human brain is incredible at learning patterns. If something is repeated often enough, especially with emotional weight, your brain wires it in as important. But here's the catch. Importance doesn't always translate to pleasure. For some people, holidays activate joy. For others, they activate pressure. When your brain hears, "This day is supposed to be meaningful," it immediately scans your internal world and asks, "Do we feel the right thing?" And if the answer is no, tension creeps in. Not excitement. Tension. Psychologists sometimes describe this as emotional incongruence, the mismatch between what you're expected to feel and what you actually feel. And your brain hates mismatches. It would rather feel something negative that makes sense than feel nothing when something is supposed to matter. So, if you don't get excited by major holidays, your brain may have learned something very early on, that these days come with emotional obligations. Obligations to show up, to react correctly, to perform happiness. And once something starts feeling like a performance, excitement quietly slips out the back door. Think about it. Excitement is spontaneous. You can't force it. The moment it becomes required, it stops being natural. It's like telling someone, "Relax," or "Have fun." The command itself does the opposite. Many people who feel emotionally flat around holidays aren't emotionally numb in general. In fact, they're often deeply reflective people. Their brains are tuned inward rather than outward. They don't get their emotional cues from calendars or crowds. They get them from meaning, and meaning doesn't always arrive on schedule. Another layer of this has to do with how your brain handles stimulation. Holidays are sensory overload disguised as celebration. Noise, the social interaction, schedule disruption, travel, expectations, memories, smells, lights, all hitting at once. For some nervous systems, that's energizing. For others, it's exhausting. If your brain is more sensitive, more analytical, or more internally focused, it may respond to all that stimulation by turning the volume down emotionally. Not because you don't care, but because caring too much would be overwhelming. This is actually a form of emotional regulation. Your brain is protecting you by staying neutral. There's also the role of memory, and this part is subtle but powerful. Holidays are heavily tied to the past. Childhood moments, family dynamics, traditions that may or may not have felt safe or joyful. Even if nothing bad happened, Your brain remembers emotional complexity. If past holidays were unpredictable, tense, or emotionally confusing, your brain learns not to invest too much. It approaches holidays the way you might approach a movie everyone hyped up that disappointed you before. You lower your expectations so you won't be let down. That's not pessimism, that's adaptation. Neuroscience shows that anticipation is one of the strongest emotional drivers we have. But anticipation is shaped by experience. If anticipation has ever led to discomfort instead of reward, your brain quietly adjusts the dial. So when a major holiday approaches, your brain doesn't think, "This will be amazing." It thinks, "Let's not get ahead of ourselves." And again, that doesn't mean you're joyless. It means your brain is cautious with emotional investment. There's also something deeply cultural at play here. On modern holidays are no longer just personal or communal experiences. They're broadcast events. Social media turns them into emotional competitions. Who's happiest? Who's most festive? Who's doing it right? If you're someone who naturally resists performative emotion, your brain may disengage altogether, not consciously, quietly, like stepping back from a loud room to breathe. Some people don't get excited by holidays because they don't like being told when to feel something. Their emotional autonomy matters to them more than tradition. Interestingly, research on motivation suggests that externally imposed meaning, being told something should matter, often reduces intrinsic emotional response. The brain pushes back. It wants to choose its own moments of significance. And that's why some people feel more joy on random Tuesdays than on major holidays. Their happiness isn't scheduled, it's discovered. There's another overlooked factor here too, identity. For people who value depth over display, holidays can feel shallow. Not because they actually are, but because they're often simplified into symbols and scripts. Smile here, gather here, celebrate now. If your brain is wired to seek authenticity, those scripts may feel emotionally empty. You don't want the version of joy that's pre-packaged. You want the kind that arrives organically, quietly, without an audience. So your brain waits. And while it waits, it can look like disinterest. But it's not disinterest, it's discernment. There's also a philosophical layer to all this. Holidays highlight time. They mark years passing, traditions repeating. It's life moving forward whether you're ready or not. For reflective minds, that awareness can override excitement. You're not thinking about the holiday, you're thinking about what it represents. Change, loss, growth, the people who aren't there anymore, the way things used to feel. Your brain isn't broken, it's just zoomed out. And when you zoom out, fireworks don't always impress you the same way. What's important to understand is that not getting excited doesn't mean you don't care. Often, it means you care in a different way, a quieter way, a more internal way. You might show care through consistency instead of celebration, through presence instead of performance, through reflection instead of excitement. And society doesn't always know how to recognize that, but psychology does. Then people who feel emotionally neutral around holidays often have strong internal emotional worlds. They process meaning slowly. They don't spike easily, but they also don't crash easily. Their emotions are more like deep water than waves. That can be a strength. It means you're less dependent on external cues to feel okay. It means you're less likely to tie your self-worth to social rituals. It means you can find meaning in ordinary moments without needing a special date to permit it. The problem only arises when you judge yourself for it, when you assume excitement is the standard and neutrality is failure. But what if neutrality is just honesty? What if your brain is simply refusing to fake a feeling it doesn't have? There's something quietly healthy about that. Since the next time a major holiday rolls around and you don't feel the spark everyone else seems to feel, Try not to ask, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, ask, "What does my brain need right now?" Maybe it needs rest. Maybe it needs space. Maybe it needs meaning that isn't tied to tradition. Maybe it just needs permission to experience the day in its own way. Because psychology isn't about forcing yourself to fit emotional molds. It's about understanding the shape of your own mind. And once you understand that, holidays stop being tests you're failing and start being mirrors that show you who you are. If this resonated with you, take a moment to sit with it. Reflect on how your brain experiences meaning and excitement. And if you want to keep exploring the psychology behind everyday thoughts and behaviors that people rarely talk about, you know where to find me.